global powers, including key U.S. allies, have said they will stand by the Iran nuclear deal which U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to tear apart. Mr. Trump said on Friday that he would stop signing off on the agreement. The UK, France, and Germany responded that the pact was in our shared national security interest. The EU said it was not up to any single country to terminate a working deal. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani said the US was more isolated than ever. Can a president annul a multilateral international treaty on his own? He asked. Apparently he doesn't know that this agreement is not a bilateral agreement solely between Iran and the United States. The deal, signed in 2015, is between Iran and 6 international powers, the UK, the US, Russia, France, Germany, and China. It imposed curbs on Iran's nuclear program in return for an easing of international sanctions. In a combative speech on Friday, Mr. Trump called Iran a fanatical regime and said it had violated the terms of the deal. He accused Iran of sponsoring terrorism, and proposed new sanctions. We will not continue down a path whose predictable conclusion is more violence, more terror, and the very real threat of Iran's nuclear breakout, he said. International observers say Iran has been in full compliance with the agreement. China has not spoken since Mr. Trump's speech but previously called on the U.S. to preserve the deal. Russia's foreign ministry said it regretted Mr. Trump's decision but did not expect it to stop the deal being implemented. Congress requires the U.S. president to certify every 90 days that Iran is upholding its part of the agreement. Mr. Trump had already recertified twice, but refused to sign a third time ahead of a Sunday deadline. Congress now has 60 days to decide whether to pull out of the nuclear deal by reimposing sanctions. Although some advocates of the deal had feared that Mr. Trump would withdraw the U.S. entirely, he has instead essentially referred the matter to Congress. Mr. Trump is seeking the end to the nuclear deal's so-called sunset clauses, one of which allows for the lifting of restrictions on Iran's nuclear enrichment program after 2025. He announced Treasury Department sanctions on Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards, which he called the corrupt personal terror force of Iran's leader, and called for restrictions on Iran's ballistic missile program, which is not covered by the deal. Last month, Iran said it had successfully tested a new medium-range missile with a 2,000 kilometers, 200-mile, range. The test was not internationally verified. The president said that congressional leaders were already drafting amendments that would curb Iran's ballistic missile development and eliminate expiry dates on restrictions to the country's nuclear development. Yukiya Amano, head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, said Iran was implementing the deal and was subject to the world's most robust nuclear verification regime. European diplomats warned that any such unilateral changes to the agreement were likely to trigger the deal's collapse and a return to a nuclear standoff in the Middle East. In other reaction,